Hey guys, Tyler Berger here with Bass Fishing HQ, and guess what? It's the fall of the year. It's one of the best times to really go out and go fishing. Reason being, all the bass fishermen are hunting right now. So really what it does is it takes a lot of pressure off the lakes. You know, I showed up today to the boat ramp and literally I was the only trucking boat in the parking lot. There was not a soul in sight. So taking a lot of pressure off the lakes. Guys are in the woods. That means you have a lot of lake to cover, and not only that, the fish are feeding. So basically I'm going to go over my favorite fall baits, the ones that I really think need to be on the front deck of your boat when you're fishing in the fall. So let's start off first with a square bill crankbait. You know, a square bill crankbait is deadly because you can fish it around rock and wood extremely effective and fast. One of the things that I really like to do, especially towards the beginning of fall, is I'll just burn down you know, the bank of a certain creek arm, you know, from the mouth all the way to the back, and really try to locate where exactly the fish are. And the bait that I usually go to, especially if it's rock and wood cover, is a square bill crankbait. Again, it comes through that kind of cover extremely well, extremely efficient, and it just straight catches fish. It looks like a shad, which is what the bass are feeding on heavily this time of the year in preparation of the winter, and so you're going to catch a lot of fish with a square bill crankbait. Another bait that I really use to search a lot is a lipless crankbait, especially if there's grass in the lake. You know, a lipless crankbait always tends to shine when there's grass in the lake, but definitely in the fall as well. And really the biggest thing that I like to do with a lipless crankbait in the fall is really experiment with size. You know, generally I'm throwing a half-ounce bait, or sorry, yeah, I'm throwing a half-ounce bait, but sometimes I find in the fall that the fish are really feeding heavily on the new shad of the year, which happen to be about the same size as the 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait. And then other times I find that really they're just wanting a bigger profile bait, that some of the bigger fish are not feeding on those small shad, they're actually feeding on the bigger ones, and then I'll step it up to a 3/4 ounce. So one of the biggest things, again, that I like to do in the fall with a lipless crankbait, experiment with size until you find what those fish are going to do. One particular pattern I really like with a lipless crankbait in the fall is in the backs of the creeks. A lot of times you have these mud flats, or you have even some grass, but a lot of times they're just mud flats about 2-3 foot deep, and a lot of times the bass have pushed bait fish all the way to the backs of the creeks, and that's where they are. So I'll take this lipless crankbait, I'll make a long cast and basically yo-yo and burn it back to the boat, and you catch a lot of fish schooling up this time of the year doing that. Another one is a classic bait. Almost any time of the year a jig is going to shine. The one instance that I really like it for in the fall is when you're starting to get towards later fall and you're starting to get where the fish are really on those creek channels. One thing that I've noticed in the fall is that I think when fish move back into these creeks, that they're not really following too much of a path when they go in. They're really kind of just following the bait. Wherever the bait is, you tend to catch the fish. But when the baits start to move out and the fish start to move out from the creeks, I really think that they follow the creek channel bend. And what I like to do with the jig is those particular sections of bank where the creek channel runs right up against the bank, I like to throw that jig and I'll cast it up there in just a foot of water. I mean, right off the shore, and then you just kind of bring that bait, working it along the bottom real slow, just hopping it real slow all the way down on those creek channel banks, and you're going to hit stumps, you're going to hit rock, you're going to hit those brush piles, and I've caught a lot of big fish this time of the year, especially late in the year when that water's in the 50 degrees, low 50s, even high 40s. That's one of the best times that I really like a jig. And again, you're going to just follow the creek channel, banks, cast it shallow, work it deep. You can catch some big fish this time of the year with a jig. Now, probably my all-time favorite bait in the fall is a buzzbait. a buzzbait just straight catches them in the fall. And to be honest, I really don't even start throwing a buzzbait until that water hits about that 61, 62 degree mark. And I actually fish this bait until basically the water is in the upper 40s. You know, I've caught fish on a buzzbait in 49 degree water before, and I think that's one thing. I think a lot of people will put it down once that water is in the 50 degree range, but I think that's actually the best time to throw it. One thing I do find is that towards the end of fall, when you're catching them still on a buzzbait, you just have to start slowing it down, and what you want to do a lot of times is replace the blade with a bigger size blade that's basically going to allow the bait to lift more in the water, which is going to keep that bait up, and it's also going to allow you just to barely crawl that buzzbait across the top, and boom, you'll catch a lot of fish on a buzzbait. You know, I've caught some of the biggest fish of the year on a buzzbait in the fall. You know, I actually have a buddy who's even caught it while it's fish on a buzzbait while it's snowing. So again, it's an extremely effective bait. I think it really shines in that cold water. Don't be afraid to throw a buzzbait, because I think more times than not, people are a little bit afraid you don't get as many bites, but I swear when you get one, it's a good one on a buzzbait in the fall. So I really like black, especially in low light conditions in the fall, but generally I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Black in the low light conditions, cloudy, when it's a little bit sunny and I may be focusing more on shade pockets and things like that, I'll go with a white or a white and chartreuse. So keep it simple, but basically those are the 4 baits that I really think are probably some of the best baits to have tied on in the fall. Some different applications of what I use them for. So go out, get you a jig, get you a rattle trap, get you a square bill and a buzzbait, and you're going to catch some fish this fall. So hey guys, again, thanks for listening. If you can, subscribe to the channel, like me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. That would be awesome. I really appreciate it, guys.